Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenmara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer your elemental rune reading for the week of September 14th through the 20th of 2025. If you're interested as to why I read for the elements instead of the zodiac, that's linked in the description. And also, while you're down there, if you've never had your charts read, there is a natal interpretation chart. It's not sponsored or anything, but it gives you the base 12 houses with all the little signs and symbols. And then there's a 10 to 20 page description of what all that means. But there's also a section in there, it's about a paragraph and a half, of your elemental alignment, so it kind of gives you an idea of where you fit on the chart: earth, air, fire, water. Or because usually there's two dominants and then there's two of them that are a little recessive, so you can kind of figure out where you're at and gauge it from there. Also, there's some other goodies down there if you're interested. So with that, we'll get started here with our fire family. Fire covers the zodiac signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And fire, you're starting off with, get my notes here, the Rado rune, which is a long journey on horseback. Color is bright red. Tarot association is the Hierophant. Astrology is Sagittarius. So fire, we're working with your energy here. It indicates physical journeys, pleasant ones, journeys that bring positive development. Can also refer to a spiritual journey to the self. So this could be a week. I'm getting this, the image that's coming to mind is a journey inwards more so than outward. There could be some outward physical journey depending on how your life rolls and how this interprets for you. But what I'm really seeing is this quieting, this meditation, going back into your bloodline, going into your, first of all, into your subconscious, but they're also showing me going into your shadow, which is where you have all of the things that you've repressed, all the stuff that other people have told you aren't good enough, and you're actually finding treasures there. That's that pleasant aspect of this journey. So fire, however this plays out, but I'm really seeing this journey inwards and going back through where you're discovering more about yourself, and it's actually making you excited. Like, you didn't realize. They're showing me a little kid jumping up and down, clapping his hands. Like, you didn't realize that you were as unique, special, or creative that you thought you were. And it's not an ego thing to say, actually, I'm unique, and that makes it even better. Like, I can do fill in the blank, but my friends are not on that same plane. And that's fine, because they're on a different plane from where you're at. So that's the energy that's coming up really strong. It could be physical travel. They're saying that could be with some work-related thing where it's like a bonus where you get paid for the travel, but you also get an extra amount because you're doing the traveling. But the dominant energy here is that inner work where you're actually kind of tapping into your inner child energy, which is pretty fun. So your second rune is the Iawaz rune, which is the rune of the horse. Color is white. Tarot association is the Lovers, and astrology is Gemini. Working with air is actually a good thing for fire because it stokes your creativity. It's travel, change, new jobs, new homes, spiritual journeys, and spiritual movement. Fire. I think you got the two traveling runes in the entire set. And what it's really wanting you to focus on is allow yourself the pleasure of travel. Whether it's spiritual travel, astral, going back into your subconscious, or physical travel, but the energy that keeps being the most dominant one is more internal work. And this could be meditation to develop creativity. It could be meditation on a mandala, especially the Buddhist ones where they have all this, the circle with all the triangles and everything, and focusing on the center point. Whatever it is, this is where you're at this week, is getting that deeper aspect of understanding self through inner travel. It could be external travel as well, that's not being discounted here, but the really thing that they're wanting to make the dominant energy is focusing on the inner work, digging into the deeper self, because they keep showing me this energy that fire, it's been a little heavy here lately, and you tapping into this inner journey, really looking inside and seeing what's going on within yourself, tapping into your inner child, accessing some of these unique things about you is actually going to bring you into a much more pleasant, joyful state. Is it going to happen overnight? Possibly. This energy is really saying the travel is going to be pretty quick, and it's going to bring results and, depending on what fast means to you, fast response. And that's actually really powerful because that shows that you're on the right path. Your soul's journey is being lined up for you, and this is really setting you up for a fun, interesting, possibly challenging, but mostly fun and interesting week. So let's hop over to our Earth family, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Pardon me. And for Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, you are starting off with the other one that sounds the same, which is the Eowaz rune, which is the yew tree. Color is dark blue. Tarot association is the Hanged Man. Astrology is Scorpio. So Earth, you're actually working with some very compatible energy, but this is going to be an energy that challenges you because Scorpio is the fire of the water family. So it's a little aggressive. It doesn't know how to be untruthful, but prefers to come in like a bull into a china closet to show its truth. So there's a little bit of intensity here. We have protection. It's a time of death and rebirth, and using foresight and perseverance. So Earth, this is really a good time for doing divination for the challenges in life. What is the challenge? How am I going to overcome this? Where am I going with this journey? And when you do that, you're looking at things from the different perspective. The Hanged Man, when you look at the tarot on that, you're hanging upside down, your blood rush to the head. And what it's actually saying in a lot of ways is the way you've been observing things is fine, but the challenges you're dealing with right now can't be processed using the same simple, basic overlay that you've always used. This is a time to open things up and see the differences in life, because same old ain't working anymore. So your second rune, don't see this one very often, sorry, let me find it, there it is the Laguz rune, which is the rune of water. Earth, you definitely, if you've got a water friend, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, or if you have water as your secondary in your chart, pay attention. There's something going on here. The color is deep green with this one. Tarot association is the star. Astrology is the moon. This is your unconscious, your intuitive energies, and the mystery of life. Psychic awareness, hidden sources of creativity. Water, you have a very interesting period coming up here this week because you're dealing with a Scorpio specifically, which is a water sign, but then you get the rune of water as well. So this is going to be a time where your emotions could be a little bit more sensitive than normal, and they're saying that this is actually a way for you to help process and understand and overcome these challenges, whatever it is. They keep showing me the bull in the china closet thing again. It's not this, so maybe it's a Taurus with a water as a sub level here, but the way that you've been doing it is not working, and this is a little bit of a challenge. Earth is a little more stubborn than the others because they're more grounded and foundational, but they're saying this is a good time to allow the water to smooth off the rough edges, to clean things up, to bring a polish, if you will, to what you've been working on. You've been doing a really good job with it, but it's time to get those emotions involved. It's time to bring in that water elemental energy where you're smoothing, you're cleaning, you're polishing, because it's a little industrial is how they're showing. It's like very structured and very stable and very strong, but not a lot to look at. And that's where you can bring in some of this other energy to soften a little bit of that. But with Scorpio popping up there as well, it could be that it needs a little more of an aggressive power wash going on. But you're in the right path. It just says that there's a little bit of a challenge, and emotionally it's going to be one of those things where you have to kind of peel off the band-aid and allow yourself to see and feel, primarily feel, the other ways of looking at things, because the way it's been being done is not always the best, and this is a little bit of a wake-up call to shake things up a little bit and see what kind of excitement you can stir up there. So let's take a peek at our air family, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And you, Air, are starting off with the Isa rune, the rune of ice. Color is black. Tarot association is the Hermit. Astrology is the moon. It is an obstacle, coldness between people, a time to observe, keeping silent, refraining from comment. Air, the Hermit is calling you to pull away from active responses. The Hermit is also bringing in that moon energy where it's time to look within. What's going on? Outwardly, it would be a very advisable thing right now to not get involved. It's not worth it right now. Observe everything, because there's something going on in your bubble that is, there's some things unknown. And what I'm getting is this is a time to analyze. See what the power plays are. Who's acting, who's not, what's going on here. Take nothing at face value. It is a time for research and study. The Hermit is a study person, which is perfect for Air because that's what you do too. The moon is calling you to use your intuition. Things are not always what they seem. Just because the face value is there, that does not mean that's what's really going on. There's an illusion to be broken. Think of Air with the tarot, swords. It's time to cut through some of that nonsense, so to speak. But this is something that you're being called specifically for, is to step away and observe. Not to comment, not to get involved. You're here to watch. Your second rune is the Inga's rune, which is the rune of fertility. It is color of yellow. Tarot association is judgment, and astrology is the new moon. It's a completion of an idea or project, a new beginning, a time of positive energies, good fortune. When we have new things coming in, it's good to always observe what's going on around you. So when you have these two, you almost would think that they are diametrically opposed, but they're really not. There's a period of growth being offered to you, but this is not growth through action in this moment. This is the call to figure out what's going on, plan your next steps, and be ready when the opportunity opens itself to you to take said next steps. There's a lot at play here, Air, and do you remember when you were young and you had the kaleidoscope you'd look through and you turn one end of it and it all spiral around and the colors changed all the time? You're at the center. What I'm seeing here, you're at the center of that. So as things are shifting, it's changing and bouncing around and carrying on, but you're the center point. You're the one who gets to observe all of this. Your action comes when you see that's the path I need to be on, and you step onto it. The minute you step onto it, it will solidify ahead of you. But in the meantime, you're watching, and it's constantly in the state of movement and change. So Air, you have a little bit of a confusing week, but they're really wanting to bring forward this week is confusing only if you don't understand what's happening. It's really about starting off by observing, following your intuition, and when the opportunity arises, you step onto that path and the path will clear in front of you. So you have an interesting message this week, Air. Definitely a little more challenging than normal, but it's something within your bounds, because Air, that's your bread and butter. Studying, analyzing in the mind, that's you. So let's take a peek at our water family, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. If the runes would actually pop out of their little bag. So, there we go. Being a little stubborn today. Your first rune for water is, I believe this is the Berkana rune, but let's double check. There we are. It is the Berkana rune. So water, you're starting off with the rune of birth. Color is dark green. Tarot association is the Empress, little goddess energy going on. And astrology is Virgo, so you're working with some earth energy. That's interesting because Earth had a lot of water energy, so water, Earth, Scorpio, Virgo, if those are in your charts heavily, you might be paying attention. We have renewal, new beginnings, new growth, birth, family, and a home. So water, this is really calling to tap into that Earth energy, because Earth is about foundational grounding practices. And it's actually probably a good thing, because water can get a little up in their feels sometimes where they're not paying attention to other things because they're off in the zone out world, which is amazing to be in. Don't get me wrong. But this is a call to really anchor down, practice some grounding work. Um, Take your shoes off when you get home. Take your socks off, run around barefoot, just so that you can get that contact. Even if you're in, second floor or whatever, still keep your shoes and socks off so that your feet are draining off some energy. But with that, it's going to open things up. It's going to refresh you, which is amazing. But it's also going to show you that there's new stuff available. Whether it's new spiritual practices, new meditations, it could be just some spiritual downloads that your subconscious is going to play with. There's a lot of positive energy by just having that grounding going on. And that's what I'm getting this impression this week for water. Start off by just grounding it out. Doesn't matter what else is going on. Settle it down. Bring it down into the earth, let Gaia deal with it. And you have the Empress. So this is one of those aspects. If there is a divine feminine that you work with, Mother Mary, one of the other goddesses, Diana, work with that energy as well so that you can anchor down and allow them, especially if you start working with Gaia, allow her to show you the ways to ground, how to renew yourself, and how to bring in that new spark of creativity. Being it more intuitive than the other elements, water, this is actually a good thing because you can tap into some of the more interesting aspects of spirit, and that allows for some pretty powerful creation to occur. So, your second rune, before we get too much into that energy because it feels amazing, is Othila, which is the ancestral property rune. Its color is deep yellow. Tarot association is the moon. Astrology is the full moon. So this is a lot of your energy here, water, as well. Possessions, inheritance, real property, inherited traits or abilities. So if you are someone who was born into an interesting family line, most people have some kind of intuitive guidance. Mine is a very odd one because I had, on both sides of my family, I had very, what my mom's and dad's generation would call the witchy ones in the family, because they just knew things. They always did. Just that was a natural occurrence. And what's interesting is it skipped 2 generations and then it popped back up in my generation. So there is always a bloodline component to your intuition, to your clairs, to whatever spiritual gifts you have. And that's what they're saying for the water family right now, is this is the time where with Berkana grounding and renewing you, bringing you into that aligned state, tapping into that divine feminine, which is more tapped into your clairs. The divine masculine can help, but that's not the focus right here. We're talking Empress, so this is a goddess energy. When we look at it from this perspective, this is saying, what are your inherited traits? What are the abilities you've inherited? It could be something physical like a house or a vehicle or some kind of physical property that you inherited. But the energy that's coming forward right now is really about tapping into your inherited traits. If you've never played with them and you've never worked with them, because you can work and play with your intuition, it's kind of fun doing that. This is the time to really flex those inner muscles and start to figure out what it is that was bequeathed you from your bloodline. It could be no spiritual. It's strictly from the bloodline. I was going to say it could be someone that taught you something that's outside the family, but they're pretty adamant this is not the case. It is bloodline. So see how that plays out for you, water, because something is coming up with your clairs, with your intuition, with your it could be some kind of new vision. Pay attention to your dreams as well. One of the angels is like, water, watch out for feathers. That's a good indication. So if you notice that there's a random feather somewhere just drops into your lap, like you're sitting in your office on the keyboard, and there's a feather that just shows up out of nowhere, maybe something to be paying attention to, because that's when your angels specifically are coming in to be like, hi, we need to chat. And it could be more subconscious. It could be a conscious thing where you're, aware of them. But watch your dreams and pay attention for feathers this week, water. That's just one of the things we're bringing up. Overall, the energy for this week for all signs is really, you have a really good week coming up. You're tapping into your core elemental energies, earth, air, fire, water. There is a unique, it's not really unique, but for this week it's unique, a connection between earth and water. So if you have those two as dominants in your charts, see what plays out this week. There's definitely some fun energy there. Fire and air, you're kind of soloing it, which is awesome, but you do have some working with the other energies, but it's not quite the same as Water Earth this week. But with that, I will let you guys go. Have fun. Explore what needs to be explored, if it's inner child or if it's gifts, physical travel, or just observing the world around you for a moment. Have fun with that. Really tap into the joy that comes with this type of exploration, and let me know in the comments down below if that's what happens this week, because it could be interesting. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and I will see you guys in the next video.